single. I don't like I am statements of I am single. I'm currently single.
You're available.
I'm available.
Okay.
And still, I've friends who are around me, good guy friends, who give me attention. I know they like me, and that energy feels good in my life.
How do you? Are you a good judge of how you look?
Am I a good judge of how I look?
Like, how do you look now compared to 24-year-old you when one or more of these guys dated you? Is it like a reunion? Like walk in like, holy shit, look at you? Or you're like, I always look like this? Because that's got to matter. It's like when you go to your high school reunion, it's like, fuck. I wish we could go. She looks better than ever.
It's so interesting of getting on this topic of looks or appearance.
Oh, that's what all the good-looking people say. They want to go to other things.
Well, no, I have a little different. So I grew up as a child. I was this.
We all grew up as a child.
Well, as a child, I had big blue eyes and bright blonde hair and tan skin. I looked like a little John Benet Ramsey. And I would walk around with my parents, and adults would come up and be like, oh, look how beautiful your daughter is. She should be a model. She's going to be a model. And then I grew up and nobody called me to be a model. So
okay, so
there is a little bit of
your
like
9-year-old shattered John Bonet dreams. Yeah.
But there is a little bit of like, wait, all the grown-ups told me growing up that I was going to be a model, and then now I'm 18, and there's all these real models out there who are, 5'10",
like a different species,
and stunning, and I'm like, you guys lied to me.
Yeah, I don't look like them.
I don't look like them, so so there is this like dissonance of like, but I'm not beautiful enough.
Right. So yeah, that's a good point.
But I also within the same, I don't have, I don't focus on my appearance too often. Yes, I believe that I'm a pretty person.
You're a pretty person, but some people are like, I work out more now. I take care of myself now. I look better now than I ever have. A lot of people have some perspective on that. Did the guys like, holy shit? Or the guys like, oh yeah, I had that.
Everyone, all the men who did the show when they walked out, they were like, "Oh, I have this beautiful red dress on. My makeup done, and yeah." So I when I look and I watch myself on TV, I feel good to watch myself.
Did that matter? Because that matters. Did they look the same, or some of them were recent that you kind of knew?
So all the men that did the show,
oh my God, you lost 95 pounds.
A little bit of all the men that did the show, they were all men that a relationship never really started. So they one night stands? No, they weren't one night stands. I mean, the first guy I never even kissed that was on the show. We went on a couple dates.
Those are those dates?
Are those dates? Yeah, they're dates. We went on a couple dates.
You went on a couple dates, you didn't kiss, and then that counts as an X for this show?
They counted it as an X for the show.
Jeez, thin pool.
And then they were all recent ones. The second guy, Zach, he worked with me at WeDeepen after I raised our first round of funding. I got to start hiring, and he was one of the guys who walked in the door, Harvard graduate who believed in WeDeepen, left all of his, moved into his car so he could work at the startup, and every day showed up. And and then 4 months after working with me, professed his love. And yeah, it was like oh shit, you're my colleague. Like, where is this coming from? And then it just was this 2-month spiral.
Oh, so you're into it.
Well, I pushed it away for some time, but when somebody is every single day at the office with you, courting you, it wears down on you. I remember one time Zach said to me in the office,
"Don't take that to HR."
Well, I am HR.
I know that, but it's like, sorry, it wore me down.
There was one time at the end of the day, I was working late at night one day, and he said, "I'm your last hope." And he was referring to, because I always am working.
Right.
And at the time, I believed him. I'm like, oh here's this handsome 38-year-old man who's supporting my dream and also shares my dream with me. And
he believes in you.
And he believes in me. It was so special. But then with him, and we didn't, what I wished about the show is it could have been a series, one episode, because you just see a little bit of surface. You're getting 28 minutes of 3 relationships. So you're only getting surface. But with Zach and I, finally, after a month and a half of him, courting me, I was like, okay, fine, let's do this. I love you. And then he pulled away and went and slept with his ex.
Oh, Jesus.
So
that's a different show.
And at that point, I was like, I'm not interested anymore. Like, I'm done. Bye. But
what happened to the love?
He
Zach?
did, though, I'll say with a healing. He was one of the first men who cheated and came back and said, and told me the truth right away. He said, you should know this. I want to be with you, but you should know what just happened before. So
is that okay? Does that make it okay? Is that a pass?
Well,
sorry, here's what I did Thursday night, but I'm back.
Yeah. It was healing to have somebody tell me the truth. But I also, he wasn't my person. So it was like, okay, right.
Okay. Well, now I know. All right. I got to take a quick break. I got a lot of other things to get in with you. We're here with Christina Weber. And we will be back right after this. And we are back. We're going deep here with founder of WeDeepen, Christina Weber. And so I want to pivot a little bit. So you're in the people connection business. You're in the relationship. You're in the love. You're in a lot of things. You're in the transformational business. What was last year, going on 2 years now, like for you? What were the good things about it, and what were the bad things about it, sort of business-wise, and what you're trying to do?
Well, business-wise, I mean, it halted my business. We were building traction in the Los Angeles area with in-person events. Yeah. And that
I'm in the in-person event business too, yeah.
And we were fundraising at the time. We were about to close on another round of funding, and we're out of cash.
Right.
And then COVID happened, and the investment group was like, what are you going to do now? I was like, I don't know. It's March of 2020. What is this? I'm not quite sure.
Because you don't know how long it's going to go.
No. And then I played with virtual events for
15 days was not true.
Yeah, 15 days was not true. I played with virtual events for, 8 months. Specifically, it was catalyzed by George Floyd's murder. When his murder happened, there was a big call out to, if you have a community, do something. And I was like, I WeDeepen. Okay, we'll do something. And so I, had invited, I had 30 friends of color who said yes to coming onto a Zoom and sharing their stories of racism. And that evening, we had 175 people on Zoom and from all over the world. And I looked in that computer and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Look at all these people. And I'm meeting them exactly where they're at in their homes. And we can do virtual experiences. So for then the next 8 months, we launched virtual experiences to help people process what was happening and to have deep conversations. Like you were a part of. We did Mind Sports, which was a debate experience. We had polyamory versus monogamy and socialism versus capitalism.
I was on the side of monogamy, for the record.
You were on the side.
It was heated, though.
It was heated.
The poly pile, I think they, not to get off on a tangent here, but I said this at the time. The poly people are poly because they haven't had success at monogamy. And they want 3 because they haven't found 1. And I will always believe that if you have 1, you don't need 3.
Fair enough. And what monogamy people can learn from poly people is that you're pretty much poly if you're dating.
Yeah.
And you can take your skill sets to be authentic in your communication about who you are with another person. I think I personally in dating, I want to know, of course there's discernment, but be honest about where you were last night. Like, let's talk. Who else are you dating? Like, I'd rather be your best friend and know about you and your life and what you're experiencing than to be one of the girls that you're dating that you're not sharing your full on reality of who you are.
Right. So like the guy you said who dated a lot of girls, is there some benefit to the fact that he dated a lot of girls, so he's not lacking in girls? He had a nice run. He's like, and now he can focus? Because a lot of times the guys who date a lot of girls later in life are the guys who did not date enough girls earlier in life.
Well, for that particular person, he operates more of like a poly type of being, but he was, because my makeup is more monogamous, that he presented himself as, hey, I'm monogamous, but he's not.
Oh,
he's not really.
Right.
However,
you need to own who you are.
However, the third guy in the TV show, X-Rated, Michael, he was one who, part of the reason why it didn't work out, we just weren't a match. So all these things that come out of the woodwork are like signs that are like, yeah, we told you this isn't a match. And so now we're going to pull this decision. But he's one who, when I I wasn't aware that he was sleeping with somebody else at the same time he's sleeping with me. So once I become a privy to that information, I'm no longer interested. But if you were honest from the start and I knew where we were at and what was happening, like, sure, I can make my own moves. So what I do want to say about polyamory versus monogamy is that monogamy people, until they decide, until they say like, yes, let's be in a relationship and let's be exclusive, that you should try on the methods of being truthful, like authentically, radically honest.
Start there. Now, do you ask the question at the time, instead of waiting 20 years to go on a reality show, do you ask the question, well, why are you sleeping with somebody else if you have me? Isn't that the question that always sort of drives both the insecurity and the pain and all that? Like, why do you need to do that on Thursday night if I'm here?
Yeah, well, I think there's a little bit of a woman testing a man that's happening during the process. Like, I don't want to ask that question because I don't know if you're the right guy. And if I ask that question, you may like it. I'm still observing. I just want to observe and see who you are as a person and how well you can communicate. And if, are you willing to be truthful and fully honest in a relationship from the day that we meet? And
so you wanted to see if he would take the bait somewhere else?
No, it's not that but I didn't know I didn't know yet if I wanted to be in a relationship with him. So I don't want to press for you to just be with me when I don't know if I just want to be with you yet.
Yeah, some people play those games too.
It's not a game.
It is, because you're basically taking the illusion is that you're making about her, but it's really about you. I had an ex-girlfriend did that to me once. We were dating maybe 3 weeks in, and she's like, hey, will you take Bridget home? She's drunk. Will you just give her a ride home? And Bridget was hot. She was her hot friend. And I drove Bridget home, dropped her off, left, came back. And she's like, what happened with Bridget? And I'm like, I drove her home or whatever. And she was like really cold until she talked to Bridget to find out that I didn't try anything. And I'm like, that's a little fucked up, me and you, but that's really fucked up to do to her. That you basically used your semi-drunk friend as like, let's see if he'll make a move. Like, the whole thing was just gross to me. But she's just like, I assumed that you would go for her because take advantage of my drunk friend. I'm like, well, what are we doing together in the first place? Like, that was really weird. But you do stuff like that. Girls do stuff like that. No,
I don't do stuff like that. I think that's kind of funny that she did that. But
it's not funny. I'm sure it's not funny to Bridget.
No, that's not the situation that I'm sharing, though. That's definitely different. I think that we're a little confused of the stages of relationship. So for me is until, and I know this is, until it's like, yes, I'm in love or I'm engaged. It's that process is of, it doesn't mean that I like for me, I'm innately monogamous. So I will show up and practice relationship with you, but to commit and say, hey, this is official. That's what an engagement is. An engagement is like, hey, we're official.
There's no where between you want to go out sometime and engagement that is another step.
Well, yeah, there's many conversations and many
How
steps
about you're
in between.
My girlfriend. Is that's insufficient amount of commitment?
That is, but at the same time, doors are always open.
Doors are always open to marriage too.
Doors are always open to marriage, but to me, I look at it a little bit different. I mean, I married myself, and we have a great relationship.
How come they didn't have her on X-Rated?
I did.
Oh, you did? You talked about your relationship with yourself?
I talked to I
need to watch this. I only watched the highlights. No. I haven't. Is that offensive to you?
Well, it is kind of it's a little, we work together. You were actually the inspiration for me being on the show.
I know that, but I kind of didn't want to. Part of me is like, I don't want to know certain things.
You host one of the top dating and relationship podcasts.
I know. No, I don't want to know certain things about you.
Why?
I don't know. I think they're too personal. It's like when I went to see my friend Danielle in a movie, and she had the sex scene, and I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this. I don't know. It was it's just personal to you. I don't know. Part of me is like, if you wanted me to know these things, you would tell me. I feel like it's cheating to find out information about somebody like that.
Oh, I wish I wanted to see the world so differently. Like I'm the person who goes to a business conference and